Hello, everybody. So delighted everybody is here for the Parts Work Practice Conference, our second one. All right. So, who's running the show? Understanding the parts that shape your life. All right. So, I know, let me see if I can get coordinated here a little bit. Here we go. So, we don't really need to do the welcome. I think Bill did a really great job of it. So one of the things I do ask is just, be aware that everything is confidential. It's really, really important that we keep that space very sacred so that people feel safe. All right. So who am I? So I'm a level one trained through the IFS Institute. And over the last 4 years, I've really had the privilege and honor of learning very closely alongside Bill. And I continue to stay connected with him and his work. So let's just move forward from there because I really don't like talking too much about myself. But, from the outside, life looked really good. I had checked all the boxes of what was supposed to create a happy life. But inside, I carried this relentless, quiet ache of discontent that I just couldn't explain. And yet, with all of the trainings that I had had and the knowledge I had gained, none of it was translating into real change or making my life feel any better. And then what I'd come to realize is that that ache had nothing to do with what was outside of me. It was 99.9% about how disconnected I had become from myself. And from early on, because I was taught to attune to others' needs and dismiss my own. And so the real work I have found is learning how to return to myself again and again. It's a practice of listening, of honoring, and choosing to stay connected, even when it feels messy, sometimes even scary. And so this is a practice that I'm still in, and one I now walk alongside with other women. Women who feel overextended, caught in people pleasing, and just unsure how to show up for themselves. So with simple, steady support, we grow self-connection, clarify boundaries, and follow through on aligned choices without the constant worry or guilt. All right. So that's me. So we're just going to arrive, breathe, and be. So I'm going to invite everybody to just begin to either gently close your eyes or do a soft gaze, whatever feels the safest for you. Just take a moment to get comfortable in your seat and just feel the support beneath you, your chair, the ground. Let yourself feel the weight of your body resting here. And now gently just bring your attention to your breath. There's no need to change it, just follow it in and out. Just allowing it to anchor you into this moment. Now I invite you to expand your awareness and to include everything that's here with you today. So it's not just your breath, but your thoughts, your emotions, and any sensations, and any parts of you that have come along. And there's no need to sort them out or name them. Just simply acknowledge them as present. There may be a part that's eager. Maybe there's one that's unsure. One that's watching carefully from the edges. Whatever is here, let it know it's noticed. Now shift gently into sensing. Noticing the space around you. Feeling the air on your skin. The temperature. And just noticing the rise and fall of your breath in your chest. And if it helps, bring to mind a gentle image. Maybe it's a shape or a color, and just let that image form softly without needing it to make sense. And now let your system know that we are here, coming together in community with the same intention to learn, to explore, and to understand more about our parts and ourselves. We are each bringing something unique into this space, our own system, our own rhythm, our own inner landscape. And as we gather, we honor the individuality of every person and every part. Take a final breath in and exhale. And then just gently open your eyes. And I welcome you all to this shared space of exploration, reflection, and connection. Oops. All right. So what is a part? So according to the IFS Institute, a part is a natural subpersonality within us that has its own perspective, its own emotions, its own beliefs, and roles that have developed to help us survive, adapt, or function in the world. So more simply put, a part is not something that's wrong with you. It's a distinct inner experience, not a pathology. And it does have its own feelings, its own thoughts, its own memories, impulses, and intentions. And it develops in response to life experiences, especially in moments of stress, overwhelm, or disruptions in connection. And it exists to help or protect our internal system in some way, even if the strategies it uses later become limiting or outdated. Parts can be experienced as physical symptoms, the felt sense, feelings and sensations, thoughts or impulses, movements, voluntary or involuntary. They can be images, words or inner voices, sounds. Right. And so you have responsible parts, you have critical parts, you have silly parts, you have creative parts, you have avoidant parts, you have wounded parts, and just so many more parts, right? And they affect how you feel, what you do, and how you respond in the world. And they are always operating in the background. Without awareness of your parts, the reason behind your actions often remain unclear. And as a result, life can start to feel like it's happening to you rather than being shaped by you. And when you're not consciously leading, parts step in, and then life runs on autopilot, where old habits and outdated coping strategies take over instead of present moment choice. So I have a question. So if you're not in the driver's seat, which part of you is? Right? All right. So where in your life do familiar habits or reactions take over instead of choosing from present moment awareness? So I'm going to invite you to contemplate that, right? Anybody, you can put it in chat, or we could do a little bit of popcorn style if you want to interact, right? One of them would be like pushing through exhaustion because that's just what you do, right? That is a part. It's a habit. It's an identity, belief. You,
Yeah, I was trying to raise my hand, but it didn't seem to go up. So would this be a good example? Road rage. I mean, not like I do anything, but it flares up so fast. That's a little
perfect.
firefighter, and the manager just hates it, and they're at war. Is that a good example for this room?
Absolutely. Yeah, right? Because it's road rage. It's like something has to happen in order for the activation of that part to appear, right? And so road rage is a response. We don't, until you connect with it, you wouldn't know what it's, what what is its driving purpose behind its behavior? We don't know yet, but yeah, why does it show up? Right? You know, one of them, a great one, because we're all on our phones, is like automatically scrolling, right? We just start scrolling and then an hour's gone by and we're like, oh my God, where'd the hour go? Right? I live 2 hours to the city and I'll get in my vehicle and I'm there 2 hours and I'm like, where'd the time go? Well, I had to have a part driving me there. I had to recognize. So if I was lost somewhere in my thoughts, there still had to be parts of me that were taking over. Right? So we have these automatic familiar habits and reactions that we do. So things are not happening in present moment, they're on repeat, right? It's when we kind of go into a trance state when we go into automatic pilot. Yeah. So, automatically procrastinating. I don't know if all of you are familiar with procrastinating, but I certainly am. I see your hand up.
Yep. Hi. I'm not sure about this one. So it's a general thing that happens to me most of the time where I'm responding to my external environment rather than being self-driven, sort of. Like that has been my mode of operation my whole life. It's whatever's in front of me. So is that would that be considered a habit? It's not something different.
That is so I would call it actually like I know you use the word responding, but it's actually what you're reacting to your environment.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And so a reaction is part based because when we respond, it kind of in my mind is like we're hitting the pause button and we're going, wait a minute, how do I actually want to respond in the moment to what's just happened? All right. So when we're not responding, because it's like I'm talking from the most current version of me, recognizing what's happened, and now I am choosing how I want to respond. Reaction is straight up parts. I didn't even think about what I was going to say or what I was going to do. I just automatically did it. That is parts. Great
That's
one.
a great clarification. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, it was from one of my mentors, and when I got it, I was like, oh my gosh, that's so good. All right. All right. So let's go to the next slide. The control console. All right. So imagine a control console inside your brain. At any moment, one or more parts of you may step up to the controls, influencing how you feel, how you respond, and how you move through the world. And when a part is at the controls, it doesn't feel separate or distinct. It just simply feels like you. In IFS, this experience is known as being blended with a part. So I'm going to invite you as we're going to watch a short little video. So I just have to shift my screen. And I'm going to invite you to notice Riley's reactions, her emotions, her body language, her expressions, and try to imagine that each of these emotions represents a part of her that stepped in, blending with her during different moments. And as you're watching, I'll also invite you to observe your own inner world. Maybe you're having flashes of insight, maybe an old memories popping up, or feelings where that your parts or yourself are relating to Riley as she becomes blended with the part. And I'm just going to get you to put a thumbs up that you guys can hear it once I've got it on. So here it is. So we'll pull it this way. I'm sure everybody's, well, not everybody, I'm generalizing, but hopefully it's coming from the Disney. All right, everybody's ready?
Work. Huh? I didn't get that.
On fly.
Hmm.
Ugh.
All right.
What? Every time I watch that, I just laugh every time. It's so good. Disney did a great job of representing parts. So I don't know if it was their intention, but they did a really great job. All right. So the reflection, did any of that resonate as you watched the clip? Did you have your own memories, your own feelings, or moments of insight? Yeah, I seen shaking her head. I seen is what I said is nodding her head. Yeah. Yeah. I know for me, the rock star. I don't know. Sometimes I put music on really loud and I'm like, can you imagine if you broke out into those moves? Like it's so good in my head, but well, all right. So, all right. So I'm going to invite you. So I want you to recall a recent experience where you found yourself reacting automatically. Right? So we're going to picture your own internal control console, right? Maybe, yeah, some sort of recent experience. Maybe it was a frustration that showed up as you tried to get on Zoom today, right? Or, the laziness of not wanting to get out of bed this morning. Maybe there was some joy, sadness, maybe your own anger. What emotion did you feel? And then what thoughts did you have with that emotion? And then just noticed, how were you influenced? In other words, what did you do or say? Great. Anybody need another 30 seconds or so? All right. So we're going to move into the weekend that slipped away. Right. So Rachel stood at the edge of the kitchen, arms folded, staring at the counter. The spoon was still in the empty ice cream container. The bag of chips was half closed, slouched on its side like it had given up halfway through the night. And she just couldn't remember when she stopped eating. Just that the show she'd been watching asked, "Are you still there?" And she hadn't bothered to answer. The plan was to catch up this weekend, to clean the closet, reply to her sister's email, go for a walk, and maybe even journal. And she'd written it all down, folded the list neatly, and left it by the kettle so she wouldn't miss it. And she hadn't looked at it once. And now it was Sunday night. Right? So let's have a look at, how many parts had taken over. Let's see if we can identify some of the parts that may have stepped up to Rachel's control console, right? So she had a part that wanted to journal, a part that wanted to clean the closet. She had a part that wanted to reply to her sister's email, a part that wanted to go for a walk, wanted to journal, a part that had made a plan and wrote a to-do list. And so she had we had another part that hoped to be really productive over the weekend. But we also had a part that numbed out with food and TV, right? We have a part that didn't bother to respond when asked. Are you still there? Oops, let me reread that. Or a part that felt checked out or disconnected. A part that thinks it's not caught up on things. And a part that now feels the weight of Sunday night. And so this offers a glimpse in how two parts operate in real time and how stress emerges not from life itself, but from the inner world tension between our parts. Okay. So another reflection here. As you heard Rachel's story, did any part of it feel familiar? Yeah. Which of Rachel's parts do you recognize in yourself? Yes.
Please repeat what you said. You said stress emerges not from life itself, but from how our
The
parts
inner
interact
world.
with each other.
Yeah, our inner world tension,
Thank you.
right? So the tension that our parts are holding and the conversations and the beliefs and basically the chatter. Right? I believe Byron Katie says it, when I believe my thoughts, I suffer. There's something along that. So yes. Yeah. And
I can totally relate to the list making part and the eating part and the scolding parts on Sunday night. And a quick question you can skip over if you want, if it's not easy. I always kind of wonder, how do we know those are different parts, like 10 different parts? And maybe it doesn't matter, but maybe there are 3 parts, each with multiple aspects. I don't know.
yeah,
Just
great question.
different.
It's a great question because when we get to really know them, it's like, what is the ulterior motive, right? Parts are doing something because they want something to happen. And whatever that thing is that they want to happen, that is the goal. So if you can connect with them and figure out what it is that they're wanting to happen, it basically identifies. And then also how it shows up in or around your body. How, like, it's just like when you have 10 different friends, they've all got different personalities, they all dress differently, they all talk differently, they all have different characteristics. Same with our parts, right? So we're gonna, the biggest thing for me is just recognizing what is the ultimate agenda, what do they want to happen, right? So, because parts also have parts. And that's where I get confused, even though I've been doing this. So I really don't get too hung up on trying to always make sure that I have exactly the right part, because somehow your internal world is still sorting it all out. So anyway, hopefully that was helpful.
Hi.
Yeah.
Hi. There's 2 things I want to say. One in relation to that kind of, that overwhelm of, is it the same part, a different part? I've also been doing focusing, which is very similar to IFS, a very similar model, but in that they just say something in me, and it feels like then it helps me just bring awareness to everything rather than get hung up on, is it this part and that part? It kind of feels a bit more open. because I got really obsessed with that. So I
Yes.
just wanted to throw that in there, that focus and IFS, I think, go together really well.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the thing that wasn't on the list, that unless I kind of missed the nuances, that I feel a lot is I've got really brilliant, assiduously kind of like military planning parts that, you know, write detailed lists. But there are these other parts that I'm less conscious of that obviously don't want to do the plan. So and yet I'm not so conscious of those, you know. So the plan might be there, and then, hey, I'm watching Netflix and eating chocolate, but I'm but not really aware, you know. I'm not really hearing the needs of those parts. They're just kind of running the show
Yeah, right.
without really.
The numbing out. Yeah. And we're going to kind of, it's going to come in, but you'll see how it begins to play out because what I'm hearing is, the one that likes to make lists and do to-do things, it seems to be a little bit more of a dominant part, right? You're
Yes.
highly aware of it. It does a great because it keeps you on track, a great manager, right? Now what I'm hearing though, and we're going to go into this is when that part's not present, and not running the show in that moment, another part has to be present, right? And so now you're seeing different parts that are more subtle kicking in, and maybe it'll explain it a little bit more as we move through this. So great awareness, guys. Great awareness. All right.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. So now that imagine that each of those parts is still the age you were when they were created. All right, so let's return to Rachel's story. Rachel grew up in a home where what people thought mattered more than how she felt. Her parents didn't celebrate effort, they noticed flaws. If she cleaned her room, they pointed out what she missed. If she brought home a good grade, they asked why it wasn't better. And woven into all was an unspoken message. Don't embarrass us, keep it together, and make us look good. And so by the time she was 8, Rachel had already learned that approval wasn't given. It had to be earned. So she had to be good at making lists, staying ahead, doing the things she thought might finally earn her a nod of recognition. And that's when her perfecting part came online. It believed that if she could stay on top of things, she might feel safe, maybe even worthy. But when a child is always being corrected and never acknowledged, something quiet happens inside. And knowing that no matter how hard you try, it won't be enough. And that's when other parts begin to form. Not to give up, but to give relief. Relief from the constant tension of avoiding criticism, from the fear of being seen the wrong way, and from the ache of working so hard and still not being good enough. And that's where Rachel's numbing part came in, the one that found comfort in food, the one that tuned out the noise with television. And the rebellious teen part, the one that sometimes whispered, "Why bother? No one's going to notice anyway." So can you think of a part of you that often reacts strongly? Oh, see, nodding your head. And when you think of this part, I mean, when do you notice it showing up in your life? Or maybe you're guessing, how old were you? And then what was happening in your life then? And what might this part have been trying to protect you from? Right. So now imagine Rachel's parts trying to manage her adult life. Right. This weekend, she had a plan to clean the closet, answer her sister's email, go for a walk, or maybe even journal. Her 8-year-old perfecting part had carefully written it all out and left it by the kettle. But when Saturday came and then Sunday, other parts took over. Parts that were tired, parts that remembered the sting of never being enough, parts that no longer believed effort would bring relief. Rachel is a grown woman now, but standing at the edge of the kitchen with her arms crossed, staring at the spoon left in the ice cream container, she wasn't standing there alone. She was surrounded by her younger parts, each having done what they've always done, trying to protect her in the only way that they know how. So it's no wonder the list stayed folded, and it's no wonder the walk never happened. And it's no wonder that Sunday night felt so heavy. And we've got to recognize that these are not actually failures. These are strategies, coping mechanisms at play, formed by our young parts. And these parts are still very loyal to us. And they're doing what they've always done, waiting for a different kind of safety. Is there something you've been trying to change in your life, but you keep getting stuck? And what are some of the different parts that show up around this? If you're struggling with parts, you could just say, what are some of the actions and behaviors that you find yourself doing around this? Just notice if you can name one part that wants change, but yet at the same time, you're recognizing one part might feel scared of that change. So without awareness of our parts, it can feel like you're falling short. When what's really happening is that younger parts within your system are carrying responsibilities and handling situations, doing their best to run a life they were never designed to manage. Hmm. So it's kind of like this young girl here is representing, she's being put in a role of having to be an inner critic or parenting and responsibility. Right. And if we kind of think of her in our system as that age and she's never grown up, and yet I'm a 50-year-old woman now, but she still exists in my system. She's the one when I'm not consciously present and consciously responding to my environment. Whatever she learned to do and however she learned to manage the situation, she's who automatically pops up. So I've put her in charge unknowingly. Right. So just imagine that your inner 8-year-old parts, or so your inner 8-year-old parts aren't resourced enough to parent your children. When I look back at my children are all adults now, but I was like, oh my gosh, when I was in autopilot, did I have an 8-year-old trying to raise my children because I wasn't fully present? Right? Limited resources, limited understanding of how the world works. And yet I put her in charge unknowingly. It's just an example of one. Or maybe your inner teenager parts are, your inner teenager parts aren't equipped to make adult career decisions yet when we go unconscious. And I don't know about any of you, but I've heard some of these pop out of my mouth, right? I shouldn't have to do the boring stuff to get to where I want to go. Right? If I just quit, I'll just quit if it stops feeling good. Like, these are not adults. These are teenager or younger parts that are expressing. But yet we've put them in charge of managing our careers, our adult life. Yeah. Just to bring awareness. So when parts lead unseen, who would you ask to resolve a complex situation? Would you ask your 8-year-old? Would you ask a teenager? Or a wise young adult? Probably not. Right? You'd want somebody who truly understands you, who listens and gets what you're going through. And that's what our parts need too. Right? When our parts feel understood, instead of us trying to fix them, trying to manage them, trying to dismiss them, or shame them, trust naturally begins to form. And when that happens, that's when true change begins to take place. It's like a recalibration of the system. And when parts begin to trust you, they stop fighting for control and start working with you, responding to the present moment instead of reacting to past threats. Sometimes we're helping them to grow up. Our 8-year-old now becomes current with the times. They might still be 8, but at least they're current and they're working with you, letting you lead instead of them taking over. Right. Something feels off. Oh, I'm missing a slide. There was supposed to be a reflection one in here, but so I'll read it. What if the reason you felt stuck isn't because you're doing something wrong, but because there's more going on inside than you realize? This is what I'm trying to get across, is that we have so many young parts in our system that when we're not consciously aware, which unfortunately we can't be just by the design of our human nature, it means that we're constantly in parts. What we're working towards is to updating a lot of these parts so that they're in alignment with the current version of who I am. And they're now working with me instead of against me. Well, it feels like against me. Right? Yeah. So you have something you want to change or achieve. And maybe you can't fully name it, but you know something feels off. You want to feel more like yourself, less stuck, less reactive, more connected, more steady, and just more at home in your own life. And maybe you've been trying to shift something for a while. Maybe it's your energy, your mood, or your patterns. But no matter what you do, it never seems to fully stick. You might have moments of relief, little glimpses of clarity or calm, but they fade. And before long, you're back in the same loop, wondering why it always feels so hard. Because those are parts. And here was the reflection question. I got it mixed up. Okay. And that's it, right? What if it's not something that's wrong, but a multitude of parts within the system, all with their own agenda, all with their own coping strategy that they found worked back then. Right? Their own beliefs, whether they've just taken them on from society, from the people around them. This is all going on in our system. When we go beneath the surface, we'll find different parts of you carrying different fears, different needs, and they all have different roles. One part might want to feel lighter and more free, while another is unsure of what that would mean or what it might cost them. There could be a part of you that craves change, while another is working quietly behind the scenes to keep things predictable and safe, because that's what it learned to do. Right? And yeah. And when those parts aren't acknowledged and they don't feel safe or aren't included, it creates tension and they resist. You might find yourself moving forward and then being pulled back, trying something new and then retreating, stuck in an inner tug of war you can't quite explain. And this inner push and pull isn't random. It is your internal system of parts trying to protect you in the only way it knows how. And here's the kicker: until those parts are met with care and connection, they'll just keep doing what they've always done. And so this shift, it begins when you pause to listen, not with pressure, but with curiosity. And when you stop fighting the resistance and you begin to understand what it's trying to protect, that's when progress becomes possible, not through force, but through connection. And this is a gentler way forward, one where we meet what's inside with kindness rather than control. All right. I'm going to invite you to do another soft gaze or close your eyes if that feels safe. And just take a nice slow breath in through your nose. And just exhale out your mouth. Just allowing yourself to settle more deeply into the seat that you're in. Just noticing different points of contact. And take another slow breath in through your nose. And then softly exhale through your mouth. Just noticing the rise and fall of your chest. Nothing to change. You're just noticing. Again, another inhale. And exhale. And gently bring your attention further inward, as if you're checking in with yourself for a moment. And you're going to extend and invite out. And just wait with attuned presence. What I mean by that is just imagine if you walked into a field looking for a baby deer. You most likely would miss it. But if you stand still, soften your eyes, and wait, that baby fawn will eventually move. Or you begin to sense its presence. So you're not looking for it, you're waiting for it to reveal itself. It's the same for our parts, offering attuned presence and space for the inner experience to reveal itself. So again, inhale. And exhale. And if you were to begin building a new relationship with one of your parts, which part feels the most ready to be met by you right now? And just extend an invite to this part to reveal itself to you, letting it know that you would really like to meet it. And as you continue to breathe, just notice what becomes present. Maybe an image or a color comes to mind. Maybe a faint sound or word. Maybe it's a feeling or a sensation somewhere in or around your body. Or maybe there's a felt sense of presence. Now just take a moment to be present with it. And maybe you're recognizing it as, and I'm just going to throw some ideas out. Maybe it's your perfectionist, and she holds impossibly high standards and is rarely satisfied. Or maybe she's the good girl who always wants to follow the rules, be polite, not upset anyone. Or maybe you have the doubter showing up who second guesses choices, worries about how the others will perceive them. Maybe the pretender, she's always smiling on the outside while feeling exhausted or unseen inside. Once you have connection with this part, what's its name? And what is the situation that activates this part? Something has to happen in our environment most likely, for this part to become present to us. What does the part feel emotionally? If you had to describe this part, what does it look like? What does it sound like? What does it feel like in your body? Where are you noticing it present itself? Right? Or it could be around the body. What does this part say? And how does it make you behave? And just give thanks to this part for having revealed itself to you, offering a glimpse into your internal world and allowing you the opportunity to do a quick check-in with it and get to know it just a little bit. And then when you're ready, you can now gently bring your attention back to the room, to the presentation, knowing that there is a way to connect with your inner world, and it's always available to you. So, what did you become aware of as you spent a few quiet moments with this part and this part's check-in? Anybody learn anything new? Gather any new insights? Well, right. So a moment ago, you weren't analyzing or you weren't fixing anything. You were just simply noticing. And for many people, that small shift alone can feel unfamiliar because most of our life is spent reacting from one part rather than listening and being present with them. And so that's where this work begins. And this is the kind of work I do with the women I support. Right? We don't chase quick fixes or force change from the outside in. We slow down, we listen, and we build real relationships with the parts of you that have been working so hard to protect you, sometimes for decades. In my coaching, we use a parts-based approach rooted in the internal family systems IFS model. And together, we explore your internal landscape, identifying what's really driving your patterns, and create space for genuine, lasting change. Not by trying harder, but by turning inward towards yourself in a new way. Whether you're new to this work or you've tried everything and nothing has stuck, this approach meets you where you are. You don't need to be fixed. You don't need to be more motivated, more disciplined, or more anything. You just need a space where all of you is welcome and where your parts can finally feel seen enough to soften. If this speaks to you, I invite you to reach out. I offer one-on-one coaching, small group spaces, and free resources to help you begin to explore your inner system at your own pace. You just have to be willing to start. All right, so I have a couple offers. We're down to 5 minutes before I'm going to be leaving here, everybody. If anybody's interested, I am going to be doing a Who's Running the Show workshop. It's a 10-week workshop where you're learning how to relate to yourself differently instead of fighting your reactions, judging your emotions, or trying to override old patterns. You'll learn how to meet the parts of you that show up with presence, clarity, and care. And the focus isn't on fixing yourself, but on creating the conditions where trust and inner stability can grow, which lead to change, the change that you desire. I notice that your hand's up.
I'm sorry, my Zoom is really malfunctioning today. I don't usually have trouble raising my hand, and I didn't raise it. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Sorry to interrupt you. Thank
It's
you
all
for the.
good.
Okay.
You're welcome. Yeah. So I'm offering that February 12th it starts, and it will be running Thursday evenings, 5:30 p.m. to 7 p.m. Pacific time for 10 weeks. Here are the dates. It's usually like $4.99, but because you are all here as part of the Parts for Practice conference, it is half price. So if anybody's interested in that, that's what's going on. Here is also all of my pricing packages. I have a one-on-one session, and usually they're 90 minutes. I work with 90 minutes. There's 5-session package, 9-session, and 18. The more you purchase, the more the prices just drop for the longer duration. All right, there's that. Exciting news. I am now a leader for the Parts Work Practice conference, and I am going to be running my own women's group. That will be starting February 8th, and it will be running every second and fourth Sunday of each month. All right, and 7 p.m. Pacific time. So this will follow the same format. It'll be very similar, except it's all going to be for women. Yes.
Hi, would you be willing to go back 2 slides to the information? That one. Thank you. Appreciate that.
You're welcome. I'll put,
Thanks.
you can also, like, Brill has a flyer, so all my contact information's there. If you're interested, I can also put in chat my email address. Or you can book what I really want is we'll do a not a confrontation call. Can you imagine? A discovery call to see if it's a good fit. I'm very protective of making sure that we're all a very good fit when we come together in group. Even so that's really important to me that we are a cohesive group and that we all will work well together and our parts feel safe. Because I have been in too many groups where my parts don't feel safe, and so I don't get the relief and the connection that I'm seeking. So I do discovery calls before I accept people into the group. Is what I'm saying. All right. Oh my gosh, where does the time go? Yeah. So I would love for you to join me. I have to fix my picture there, I see. But yeah, so this will be exciting, and I'm excited that it's a women's only group because, again, it helps create some safety. Just another layer of safety that I find that my parts like. So, all right. And I know we're down to like, I don't even really have much time for any questions. But I'm curious if we have like a 2-minute before we're booted out. So, can't remember. Anybody have any questions, any concerns, any insights? Yes.
I have a question about pacing. I don't know. So I found it. I loved the exercises. I loved all the cues. I loved the deer image of waiting and being quiet, and I love that. I found that the questions and the cues came too quickly, so I was trying to connect with my part, but there were too many sort of interruptions to that process. So and so then I ended up with a frustrated part that came in. And then an angry part, which was fascinating. But I wanted to share about the pace. I don't know if other people we're going to get booted out, but yeah, I just wanted to share that because I don't know if I'm unusual in that aspect.
No, I appreciate you sharing that. This is the second time I've presented, and I tweaked this workshop, and I was like, is it too long? Am I going too fast? So I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's kind of like a little bit more tweaking needs to be done, I think, removing some of the questions. So thank you for that, Jen.
People may want that pace. So that was just my experience. But thank you. It was wonderful.
Oh, I'm glad you really enjoyed it. Yeah, thank you everybody for being here. I appreciate all of you for showing up and participating. Yeah, it's such a pleasure and a joy to connect with other people who want to learn about IFS and work with it. So, absolutely. Oh,
Thank you,
I
Peggy.
totally do.
Thank you very much.
I just want to
you.
say, sorry. I just want to say I'm so excited about your Sunday night women's group coming up. I was so happy to hear that because I try to attend all the Sundays and Wednesdays I can. So now I'm going to add your 2 Sunday evenings to it.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. Yeah, I'm pretty excited about that. So, yeah, it's it's like sometimes you talk about things and talk about them and they just spot, and I'm like, oh my God, it's reality.
Yeah, it's
Oh
amazing.
yeah,
Thank you for
yeah.
taking the time to always be there in those parts. I mean, I only discovered parts work, I don't know, maybe 4 months ago. So, but I love it.
Yeah,
And
it's a
you're
really
always
great.
sorry. I was going to say you're always a good facilitator there, so I appreciate it.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. I really have so much fun and enjoy it so much. And very grateful for Bill and Allison having created this community. It's just such a wonderful gift to the world. So, and I'm excited to see you all there. So, yeah. So thank you, everybody. And any feedback that I think Bill will be sending out a survey